Greetings, 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 everyone, and welcome to Create Yourself Imagery, Intimacy, Innovation, place where people from all walks of life and various backgrounds come to share their transformative personal and professional stories of restoration, confidence, clarity, and empowerment. I'm Joyce Kyles, your global speaker and life and leadership coach. If you're ready to transition, transform, and thrive, this is indeed the podcast for you. I am so thrilled that this young lady had time to join us for the podcast today. I met her about maybe 15 years ago when I was very early into my own personal transition, transformation, and now thriving. And we just hit it off. I loved her spirit then. I love it and love her even more now. She has just been such a wonderful advocate when it comes to our women and girls. She's a wife, she's a mom, she's a business owner, she's just a community activist and advocate. I love her dearly. I love what she stands for. She's a woman of faith, just all the things. So I could go on and on and on talking about her because she is just such a beautiful person inside and out. So, without further ado, let me introduce you all to this week's podcast guest, Jennifer Christian, Business Development Strategist. Welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Joyce. Thank you so much. What an introduction. Thank you. And I
Oh,
didn't
no.
right there to say that to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for saying yes. And thank you for just being you. I mean, for people who may not know you, I'm hopeful that when the podcast is over, that they will just be jumping out of their seats and making sure that they get connected to you because you truly are just a beautiful, beautiful soul. I genuinely mean that, and I'm so glad that we have stayed connected all these years, and you've been able to see me grow, and then I've watched you grow and elevate. Oh my goodness, your story is fantastic. So
Yes.
I'm just going to stop talking at this point and ask you to share with our listeners a bit about who you are and tell us about your journey, your create yourself journey. So at this time, the floor is yours. Share however you feel.
Well, thank you again, Joyce. Like you said, we've known each other for years, and I appreciate our relationship. I appreciate our friendship. I appreciate our colleagueship with each other, of encouraging each other. Even when you decided to move away from local of where we are, but I understood that how everyone is and how God designs everybody's life. And like you said, it's just imagine, I mean, it's just amazing to see how you created yourself, and it empowers me and inspires me to keep going even for myself. So like you said in your introduction, of course, my name is Jennifer Christian, and I am a wife and a mom, but I am also a business owner, and I am an executive director of My Girl nonprofit organization, which led me to create the journey that I am on now. I spent over 20 years in corporate America, which was a blessing for me. And I'm so thankful for every opportunity that it brought me. But when you find out that God is designing your life in a way that is different of where it's going, and not only that, I will add that, oh, probably after my, because I come from audit and compliance background, after about my second or third position in audit, I started to question and wonder, is this where God wanted me to be? And so with that, I started, and I know people say it, and I do believe it now, but I start manifesting where I wanted to be by the age of 40, for example, what I wanted to be doing at 35, how I would run a business and how I would treat people in that business. And so things that I would do to try to motivate and inspire people to be their best self wherever they are. And so the more I kept doing what I was doing and follow the alignment of God. Like you said, I am a woman of faith. I'm not going to preach, but God is my all, and I have to put Him first. Even when I pray, I pray that I align with what He wants me to do, and then that kind of sets up the domino effect for my life. And so I'm a true believer of that. But in that position, like I said, working in corporate America, having great jobs, great positions, being around great people, traveling and doing different things, I knew that one, I wanted to mentor youth girls. It has always been a focal point for me. It has always been my desire to help and inspire other people. I was like that even in my corporate job of helping other people, of being an in charge person over teams and things like that. But I saw that there was a profound need for youth girls. And even though there are a lot of youth girl organizations, I'm sure everywhere across the world, if you look them up, you will find them. But I felt that there was also a special need when I was going into the schools and when I was learning, from educators about what they needed in their schools. And so I also started with our youth group at church. Where we had a big youth group at the church that I was attending. But again, I saw that the girls needed a little bit more. So I decided to start, talk with the leadership there. And at that time, we had Lilas, which was Love You Like a Sister. So I sat on it for a while and sat on it. And so family would pray over it and say, you should start a nonprofit. I didn't see it back then, but I said, if this is what God wants me to do, then I will do that. And so about 10 years later, I decided to turn it into a nonprofit organization. And that's what I did in 2018. Um, and I saw that my love for the youth girls and what we did was it's not membership based. We just opened it up to the Memphis, Tennessee and surrounding areas. We just put it out there. Our first event was a vision board party. And I thought of that because as adults, and I'm sure you can say the same thing, as adults, women are always trying to get together because we wear so many hats. So,
Yes.
we get together and we always have these vision board parties at the beginning of the year. And I thought, no one is asking, to my knowledge, no one is asking these young girls, what is your vision? What do you vision for when you go into the next grade in seventh grade or eighth grade? Or if you're eighth grade going into high school, have we asked them what is their vision for the next year? What are you looking forward to? What are you bringing to the table? Um, and so I thought that was amazing. I think we had over 25 or 30 girls at that first event. And people always ask, how do you get your girls? We just invite the community. We just invite them if they're in the Memphis, Tennessee, DeSoto County, Arkansas areas, in the tri-state area, we invite them out. And our goal is to move to more other states, with our events. And one day, hopefully in the next year or two, we will do that. But that was my first goal with My Girl nonprofit organization, was to let the girls know that even if you don't have a tribe, or even if you don't have a girl that you can be in communion with at your school, we wanted them to know that you can come to My Girl and find your other girl here. So we started with doing quarterly events, and that's where we started with that. And like I said, I worked on that for 2019. Of course, COVID hit us in 2020, so we kind of had to sit for about 2 years. We did a few virtual things, and they were successful. But I knew that that in person, and I'm sure that was like for the whole world, that whole in person interaction was really needed. So in 2022, we started rebuilding and doing additional in person, but distance, but in person events. And so we're still just growing and thriving, and doing, different things still with our events. We do financial literacy with the girls. We have mental health awareness month. We have hygiene for loving yourself in February. We try to remind the girls to love themselves most of all. Most of all with anybody, and then with themselves first. And, we just have different events. And then in September, which you were a part of our first event in 2019, and you know how big and amazing that was. But
Yes, yes, yes.
it was my best self event, and I know people still talk about that event. And that was our largest event that we hosted in the Memphis, Tennessee area. But we talked about things like hair care and domestic violence, and we still talk about that. And you were our great speaker to kind of help girls to identify great relationships that they should be around. Because when you talk about abuse and violence. And I know this is your lane, Joyce, but when you talk about that, we also want the girls to know, find the right friends. All of your friend groups are not going to be the best friend groups for you. And
That's
so
right.
we do that every year. We still have that event every year. It's the My Best Self, and we change topics, to kind of correlate to what the young ladies are telling us they're dealing with, and what's going on in society. So we've talked about bullying and we've talked about etiquette, just different things. And that's what we want to incorporate. So that is my first part. And as far as creating myself, and we're still continuing to do that. I'm excited about that with My Girl nonprofit organization. And, and I'll let you interject there. You were there in 2019, and I've attended other events where you've
Yes.
shared your story. And that's what life is about, is us creating ourselves and sharing our stories with other people, other women, other girls.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is a full circle moment for me as you were sharing on an even deeper level because I wanted you to share about your nonprofit. I wanted you to share about your business. What I did not know until you started sharing now in terms of your journey and pulling it from the church and the love yourself like a sister, the Lilas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was my first event that I spoke for with young girls.
Really?
That was the first time that I had spoken with young women was at that event when you all had the, and I did, and of course I didn't know you.
Mm-hmm.
um I didn't know you then, but I spoke at this. So when you said, I was like, oh my goodness, I remember that. So it has just been divine intervention that we were supposed to meet and connect and stay connected. When I
Mm-hmm.
met you, you were with a group of young ladies then at a Young Women of Excellence event.
Uh-huh.
And so I know and I saw the way that you interacted with those young ladies, the respect that they had for you and the passion, just all the things. And I just knew when we talked that, yeah, we would stay connected, but I had no idea that even back then, even before we knew each other, that I had participated in that. That was my first time talking with young ladies. So
Mm-hmm.
like, wow. But so having said that, I know and recognize the importance of talking with our young girls about their vision and what they need and what they want. And I think sometimes we as adults have overlooked that need to ask because we're just looking at them, at our young men, our young women, as they need guidance and we know what they need, their
Mm-hmm.
children, instead of just asking, we like to be asked as adults, what would you like, or where would you like to go, or what do you like to do, what do you like to eat, and all of those things. We want people, to respect that we have thoughts and ideas about what we want. So I love the fact that you all continue to think about what it is that the young ladies may want or need in this particular space. That's one of the things I love about the fact that you change up the themes each year for the program,
Mm-hmm.
because what may have been relevant to them or this group in this season may be very different in a different space, but you keep your focus on what it means to mentor them. And I love that. I love that. I love that.
Yes. Yes. And these and the girls and Joyce, the girls change because they're
Hmm.
also like us and your podcast, they're creating their identity. They're
Right.
imagining what they want to be and how they want to be. And even when we provide our in-school mentoring, when we go into these schools, I mean, if you sit down and listen, and we all know, like they say, from the mouth of babes, if you listen to these girls, they will let you know what's going on. And not, we're trying to get on a deep personal level, but if you have somebody that may be, the oldest child or the youngest child, or they're dealing with this and they're in that middle school kind of boy age, do I like him? Should I like boys? Should I do this? And so we just want them, like I said, to create the relationships that not only will help them now, but to help them later. And that is the goal of My Girl. If you go on our website or our Instagram, that is our overall goal. Is My Girl is where ordinary girls become extraordinary women.
Yes.
And that's what we want them to do. And so I know that sometimes, people can even say, even in your profession, well, I don't know if, you should talk about, and we had that question come up, I don't know if we should talk about that with young girls because of what may be going on in their house. But there is a way that you can kind of put those trigger points out there for them. And we talked about that even this year with our speaker at our Loving Yourself event in February about what to look for in relationships. Is it okay, or is it a red flag for your guy friend or even your girlfriend, to always want your passcode to your phones, or they have to know where you are at all times of the day? Are those red flags? So
Right, right.
there are things that we can teach them on that adolescent level.
And it's so great that you're doing that because, as you said, there are ways that you can talk and share, ask, the right questions so that you can
Mm-hmm.
get the answers that are needed to be of support to those young ladies, because they may be dealing with that or experiencing it, and they don't know what to do and how to approach it, who to talk to. Unfortunately, there are households that there's not a person in the household where those individuals, those girls feel safe
Yes.
to share, and they're afraid of retaliation. So, what does it look like? And then sometimes it's not necessarily even something as dark as, say, abuse or traumas. It might be just what you said about career goals. And um sadly, it was just yesterday, as a matter of fact, I was watching something on Instagram where this young man recorded his mom encouraging him to not apply for a job and to not go forward with certain aspects of his dreams because of the impact that it would have on her.
Mm,
And yeah, it was really eye-opening. And I thought that initially I thought this was, one of those kind of spoof type of things. But apparently some other people who were chiming in had shared that no, this was an actual real situation, and some of them were reaching out, to him and all the things. So I'm just lifting it up to say that even sometimes when it's just a matter of, let me find out what you'd like to do or what you want to do. Sometimes those children have people in their space that have not gone forward with their own dreams, their own vision, their own aspirations. They've not tapped into that for themselves. And so it's difficult for them to be able to have certain conversations with our young ladies about that because maybe something has gone on with them and they have stopped dreaming, they've stopped pursuing, or maybe someone didn't encourage them. So
mm-hmm.
you continue to talk and share with the young ladies, and I continue to do my part, as women, because those young ladies are going to grow up to be women,
That's
and
true.
they're going to carry what they got or what they didn't get over into their personal and professional lives. So I love that you all are doing that and that you change up those topics. And Jennifer, one other thing that you mentioned that I want to lift up is the fact that you were talking about how you manifested
Mm-hmm.
what it is that you wanted to do. And you looked at, yeah, you had a good job, and you've been able to get promoted and do some things, but you saw gaps. And I think that that is something that's very important for our listeners to tap into as well, that sometimes you can be in great spaces and recognize that there is more for you
Mm-hmm.
to do. There is a burning desire and a passion that needs to be pursued. And you had no problem with understanding that and manifesting it into what you are currently doing. And I think that is a great point that you lifted.
Yes, and and I like I said, I think it came because I would sit at work, and what I was doing was I was running out and trying to make sure that where we were having where our locations were for the migrant events or what we were doing. I was doing that on my lunch break or after or before work hours and things like that. And then when people started reaching out, schools and different administrators would ask us, can you come, and talk to our girls for an hour and things like that. And so, of course, when you start, it's not all about monetizing, but it was also the connection, and it was also about
Hmm.
getting my girl out there and getting our name out there to show
Right.
that yes, we are doing this. And so that is what led me to end up leaving corporate America. But at the same time, like I said, I did it in a timeline, talked to my husband about it, prayed about it, and just kind of, I feel like manifested that. And so with that also came, my business, JC Business Consulting. So that's where I started that, because I said, well, I want to mentor the youth girls, but I also want to stay connected to this other professional side, my for-profit side. So you have a profit, your nonprofit, and your for-profit.
Right.
And I wanted to stay on that for-profit side, and that's where JC Business Consulting came into be. And what I did was I just bottled up, like I said in the beginning, that over 20 years, probably 25 years in the audit and compliance and in the professional sector. I did it on a consulting basis. And my first client reached out to me and they said, I think that you would be great at doing this. I've been seeing what you're doing. And ever since then, it's been referrals, it's been what people are asking me to do for them. So I do everything to help entrepreneurs and small business owners, help them with their business development, business marketing, business management, and just really I host monthly lunch and learns to kind of tell people, entrepreneurs and small business owners, and even ask them, is this a hobby for you? Is this something that you want to do? Or is this something that's aligned with your business and really aligned with what you have for yourself? And both of us as business owners know sometimes you start something and sometimes you don't want to do that. So sometimes you want to say, well, I think I want to coach people and help people. And it's okay to change your mind to say, no, I think I want to, pull back and do something else.
Right.
So
Right.
that's where I am with my business development strategist, which also I kind of use both. They go in alignment with each other because every summer I normally have a youth intern. And so I put it out there for high school girls or college girls who are looking for something in the summer, even college grads who are in between looking for their real big girl job, as I say. So we work with schools to kind of make sure that we incorporate those young ladies also.
So I'm so glad that you talked about this from a for-profit perspective and a nonprofit perspective to show people that you can do them both and they can both be successful. What you shared was the piece around prayer because you are a woman of faith
Hmm.
and that you consulted with your husband as well. And so for things to work and to come together, the fact that you trusted yourself, you took your experience and you bottled that up into a business for profit, but at the same time, you're still following your passion and your purpose with the nonprofit and being able to fuse those. That is another great way, innovative way to create the life that you desire and deserve. And as I always share when I sign out, I always say that go forward and create the life that you desire and deserve. And remember
Yeah.
that you can do that at any age. And so you shared about turning 40, and I am significantly a little older than you.
Well,
But
time has passed since then, but
yes, and you know what, and I'm still older than you. And I'm lifting that up and sharing it because one of the things that I have always appreciated about our relationship is the fact that, we have just gone forward as women and supporting each other and not allowed, oh, well, she's younger or she's older. We're gleaning from each other, and that is an important part of why I wanted to host this podcast in the first place. Is showing people that relationships matter, building matters, and the information that you can get from people of all walks of life, all ages, all backgrounds, all experiences, what you can create and who you can become. the sky is the limit for that. And so I love that you fuse those things together and creating a very purpose-filled life for yourself, for your family, for the community. It is truly to be commended.
I appreciate that. And you are so right. I mean, when we think about things and sometimes we hold ourselves back. I will tell you, I thought about a podcast and you think about so many things in your business, how to develop, how to continue to create yourself. And like you said, go after the life that you desire and you deserve. I truly love that. And I love hearing you say that on your podcast. But I think that's so true. Like you say, even when with us telling our ages, there's no time that is so it's so important. I think also to tell older women as well as younger ladies that don't let age stop you from what you want to do. And I thought about a podcast and I was excited when I saw you starting your podcast because people still, in my opinion, as long as you have a voice and what you're using that platform for and what you're using your mic for is so important. And I
Yes.
think, like I said, as I see you thrive and I've seen you become this global speaker and this global person in your travel, I think, like I said, I really appreciate that. And I'm happy that you're still going and you're still doing what God has aligned you to do. Even if, it may be different paths. So I think that's really important. And to see your support system, I think that's really good. And to show people that you still have a platform and you still have a mic. Every day that we're granted, I think is a blessing to do what you desire to do.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. I thank you for that. Yes, you have truly, you are one of the people in my life that has truly seen me transition personally and professionally. So, see me get married again, see me move around and travel and do things that I'm still learning and growing and pushing myself. This podcast was something that I really wanted to do, and I had done it for some years back for my nonprofit when I was operating mine. And as I always said, I wanted to go back to it. So it's a different conversation from when I was hosting it with the podcast before. It was boots on the ground, and it was really focused on individuals who were working specifically with nonprofits and just getting the word out about what they're doing. So this is a little different for me, and
Mhm.
yet I am enjoying it just as much because I'm getting an opportunity to meet people and share and talk, and having them share and talk to me and talk to the audience, and gather strength and encouragement and courage and believing in themselves and recognizing that they can create a different path, a different narrative. How we started is not how it has to be, and it certainly doesn't have to be how it ends, because most people that have really learned about my story know that I came from a place of trauma, with
Mhm.
some of the things that I've been able to do, and have been able to turn that around into a place of thriving. And so I'm so glad that you made time to be interviewed by me today and to share a space with me that is very different from the one that I started talking about when we met.
Yes. Yes,
So,
and I'm always so happy. I still have I
um,
think our picture, and when I look at that from listening to you from, I think it was like you said when we met, oh my goodness, when I took the girls there, I think it was First Baptist. And so that has
mhm,
so many years,
mhm,
but listening to your story then, and even listening to you in 2019 with our young girls, and helping them and inspire them. And then you always just hope that your work that you do will continue, to continue to help someone else. And it's good to hear those girls who have graduated and they may come back and talk and say, I remember that lady talking to us. And when I went to college, I could remember those red flags that she was telling us to look forward to.
mhm.
And I, and that's my goal, is to help people at any age to know their definition of what they're supposed to be in life. So I think that's always really good. And not only that, like we've been saying over and over, is creating those relationships and those friendships. So even from afar, we still, can collaborate. We can still, thank God for technology.
Yes.
We can still collaborate. We can still talk and just do different things and stay in connection with people.
Absolutely. And I think that is a great way as we're winding down our time together for the podcast. I think this is a great way to get to my last two questions. So, my first one is if you have any events that's coming up, any ways that audiences can support you, and any words of encouragement that you may have.
I would say, as far as events, for my business development side for JC Business Consulting, we are starting a brew, bond, and build. Of course, it's a bonding coffee connection for small business owners, and we will be starting that in July. And you can go to my website, www.imgnchristian.com, for more information on that. And then I am also starting my Lunch and Learns back up in August, to help entrepreneurs and small business owners to not only network, but to talk about different subjects each month. So feel free to go to my website, subscribe to my website. I send out a monthly newsletter to kind of let people know what's going on and to spotlight other businesses and organizations that are doing the work and just to help inspire. For My Girl, our website is www.mygirltn.org. And we have our My Best Self that is coming up in September, and you can get more information there. We'll start putting out flyers. You can subscribe to our monthly newsletter that we have going on. Every month, and that we come out with, as well as follow us on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, not TikTok. We don't have anybody working that just yet. And so and your next question about what I would say to inspire somebody else, and I've said it repeatedly throughout this podcast, is to follow the alignment and the path that God has for you. And my grandmother, before she passed, used to always say, and it may or may not be a word, but she used to always say, we can plan our lives day to day, but God can discipline. And so we
Hmm.
have to make sure that we are ready for whatever plan and whatever alignment that God has for us. Even for me, like I said, when I started working in government years ago, I just knew I was going to retire there after 25 or 30 years and live a great life. And the more life happened and things were going on, and I thought, maybe this is something else for me. Maybe, and it wasn't, I was upset and I left, but and like I said, I had relationships with people, but I think to always go according to your plans, you and God's plans, because like you said, even with the young man that had an alignment for him, I would hate for somebody else to have to orchestrate my life that is not God. And so I say that wholeheartedly, and I say that as transparently as I can, to do what is best for you and do what makes you happy, because at the end of the day, you have to lay down in your happiness.
Mm. Oh, I received that. That is absolutely beautiful and a wonderful way to end today's podcast. Everyone knows that as I ask people to share about what they're doing and how to stay connected, if you look right underneath the flyer, you will see everyone's bio, you see how to connect. So please, 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 I'm going to ask you professionally and personally, make sure that you connect with Jennifer in all the ways, whether it be in business, for profit or nonprofit. She has great offerings in both spaces. So if you are a person who wants to give back and looking for ways to volunteer, to donate, to support, My Girl Tennessee is a wonderful opportunity to do that. If you are looking for excellent business strategies, as you've heard us share, she has, over 2 decades of experience, and she is truly wise beyond her years, and she does wonderful work. So connect with her on the Lunch and Learns, get on the website so that you can sign up for her newsletters. She has other things coming up, as she's mentioned. So I'm just going to encourage you, please, please, please make sure that you connect with Jennifer and learn more about who she is. Um, she's just a wealth of information. And as I said at the very beginning, she is just as beautiful on the inside as she is on the outside. So thank you very much, Jennifer, for joining us today. I
You.
loved it professionally and personally, so it was great to reconnect today.
I appreciate that. And I thank you so much for including me, and thank you for the opportunity and the invite and the spotlight.
And to all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in today because I could not do this podcast without you. So until next time, go forward and create the life you desire and deserve. And remember, you can do that at any age. Let's continue to transition, transform, and thrive together.
Amen.